New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. And hello again, dear ones. Dr. Robert with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
Rev B over here.
And this is New Thought Today here on the New Thought Media Network. It's 2:00 on the Mountain Time Zone. And my dear brother and co-host Reverend Elzia and I are grateful to welcome Reverend B, Reverend Barbara Jean here to the show. I don't want to call you a regular to this program, but you're definitely a regular to the network because you show up in all kinds of places on the network. And I don't think we have you on this show often enough. So I'm really grateful you're able to be here. So Reverend Barbara Jean, tell everybody a little bit about you and what they need to know to dive into this conversation today.
Well, I've been in New Thought, pardon me, CSL New Thought for 32, 33 years, something like that. I've been an ordained minister. Between ordination and licensing, I've been a minister for 26 years. And I have founded 2 centers in Toronto. The first one in 2000 in conjunction with Reverend Connie Phelps. And then I started this new one, which I now call the Universal Joy Center. And it's in here in Toronto as well. And it was started in October of 2021. And we had our first service in January. So I've been busy, to say so.
Busy, yes, and isn't that the way it is for all of us? I think if New Thought calls you to leadership in any way, shape, or form, it tends to call you to leadership in a lot of ways and in a lot of shapes and a lot of forms, and we all get to do a lot of different stuff. So
it's true. We keep busy.
For sure. Z, how are you doing today, my brother?
Oh, well, doing well, man. Just trying to get my wits about me. Been traveling a little bit, but all is well. And as they say, God is good, and we're ready to rock and roll. Get back into those multiple places where we're being called to do work.
Awesome.
Exactly. So, Rev Barbara, one of the things I would love to talk about today a little bit is you just recently guided your community, the community you're serving up there in Toronto, through a name change.
Yes.
And I would love to hear a little more of what that was like and what the results have been so far from this move. And we know it starts in consciousness, so it had to be there for a while before it got to the form. So what was it like to catch that vision in the consciousness of the name change and then to see now the form of it?
It's actually been a really exciting journey because we were looking at the CSL logo and it really wasn't making sense to anyone on our team why this starburst. I couldn't explain it. I had no idea about it. And so we were looking at who we are and why we are. And for me, going through life, like I sort of lived in hell for a really long time, and then I found this and flipped it to heaven. So the whole idea of CSL and the science mind is that it transforms lives, and I really believe that it takes us to a place of joy. And that joy comes around for each one of us as we begin to acknowledge who we are and the fact that we have been created perfect, whole, and complete. So we don't really need to be fixed, altered, or changed. What we need to do is accept ourselves as we are and begin to love ourselves enough to move forward. And I think what we teach here in Science Mind is to show up authentically, honestly, and in integrity, but also to be who you are. And I was watching baseball last night because I do love baseball, and my Toronto Blue Jays are making it to the World Series. Look out, LA. I hope. And but what I really loved was when the manager said his pep talk to his players every game, playoffs, regular season, didn't matter, was always the same. Be you, have fun. Be you and have fun. And his team is like this, like they really do like each other, and they support each other, and I see that. So when I was looking at, and when the board and I were discussing what we wanted to do, the idea of CSL and that logo felt a bit dated, which of course it's been there for quite a long time now, but it just felt a bit dated and old, and we weren't finding that any of our marketing was actually doing very much. And so when we switched the name, and it took us a while to get there, for me, it had to be something about joy, because I think that's where our teaching will take you. If you're in misery now, we'll get you to joy. It might take a little bit of time, a bit of work on your part for sure. And but joy is a possibility because we all already possess it. So the Universal Joy Center just sort of morphed out of that idea that we really do change lives, but we don't change people. What we do is allow them to find and reveal their own divine self. And I think that's a pretty remarkable thing that we're doing here. So I love what I do, and I've been doing it for a long time, and I just want to do it forever. So for as long as I'm on the planet. But it was easy. Everybody loved it. Everybody went along with it quickly. Like it was like, we love this name, love this idea. And yeah, it was really easy actually.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things that I find about New Thought in general and CSL specifically is how do we brand ourselves, right? We have this one global brand, but it's nondescript, right? I think it's a little bit nondescript with the starburst and everything.
Yeah.
And at the time that came out, it was good, I guess.
Mhm.
But now it 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 doesn't garner, I don't think, any um, internal curiosity in
I
terms
agree.
of what we're trying to do. And I think, like you said, joy, the and have to put in the forefront is this idea that, and it may not be the exact words, but we're that we're spiritually progressive, that we're human centered, and that we're transformative in all aspects of life. Because
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like what we're providing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that like what we have is something that's truly remarkable. Like when I think about our teaching and what sets us apart, say from other New Thought groups, because I've been a really big part of the Universal Foundation for Better Living, where I served as an associate minister for 11 years, and also Unity, where I served for 3 years as the senior minister of a Unity Center, and then the 2 centers I've founded here for CSL. When I look at all of the things that these different organizations do, what I realized is treatment is what we have that no one else does. And I know other people are, trying to do sort of affirmative prayer and stuff, and that it's great, but treatment, the scientific approach to changing our mind and our consciousness, is truly powerful. And I've watched it work, and I've seen the results of it. And when we can begin to clear our consciousness, it's amazing what happens next. And so I think promoting the idea of treatment and really, talking about our teaching a little bit more, I think, without it always to me, it seemed like, we're a little bit hidden. And I think, if we created a New Thought bridge, where all New Thought, regardless of what they teach and who they are, if there was a way of us coming together and collaborating, not competing, but coming together to really decide to take New Thought out to the world, just like I don't want to do it like Christianity did, excuse me. Let me just change that for a minute, but to make it to that point where it's recognizable, where people hear New Thought and they go, oh, I know what that is. Or they hear Universal Joy Center and they go, oh, that's New Thought. Yeah, it's just like you go down the street to the St. John's United Church. Well, it's part of one thing, even though it's called St. John's. It's still part of the United Church mixture. So is there a way of setting us up so that we begin to see New Thought as this really progressive, powerful model that has a number of different sort of avenues, like the Universal Foundation for Better Living is a little more on the Christian bent, and some of the Unity centers are a little more on the Christian bent, and some CSL are too. I'm not personally, but I know many who are. But I think we've got this incredible tool that we need to really promote in a bigger way, I think. Yeah.
And I think you bring up a really good point here. And I feel a little bit of remiss because I know I didn't communicate with Elzia prior to our interview. And I realize I haven't communicated with you even properly prior to this interview regarding the announcement that was made at the Anton conference last week.
Yes, that was
we've made a big deal about it here on the network, but I'm not positive if you've had a chance to actually watch that.
Yes, I did.
Okay. So for those that maybe are sitting here going, what in the world are they talking about here? So last week at the Affiliated New Thought annual retreat, the Anton community, and I'm a board member of that community and a proud member of that community, at our retreat, we dedicated 10 minutes to a presentation that was presented by the executive director of the Affiliated New Thought Network, Reverend Dr. Michelle Whittington, the executive director of Unity, whatever they're going to be called after November 5th, Reverend Dr. Jim Blake, and the spiritual leader of Centers for Spiritual Living, Reverend Dr. Sonny Cantrell Smith, had a 10-minute presentation on a initiative, is what I'm trying to call it,
yes,
with the name of an awakened path. And that's what you're sharing here is very much kind of a lead into what that presentation was. I would love to hear a little bit, maybe perhaps specifically your feeling at watching that. Well, I know what it was like for me to be in the room, but I also had a little bit of a head start on what was coming because I helped prepare the slides the week before. So I had a little bit of a sneak peek, I got to say. So I would love to hear your experience of seeing that and what was shared, and then maybe we'll get around to your perspective of this, if we can accomplish it or not.
Exactly. I loved hearing that those three organizations are looking at collaborating, not taking each other over, but collaborating and sharing teaching materials and things like that. I think that's a step in the right direction. I think keeping all of New Thought separate. I mean, we teach oneness and then we compete. And I don't understand that. Because if we're one, there can't be a competition. I'm you, you're me, we're just all of it. So that idea of competition, and I even look at gas stations. Where do they build? Across the street from each other. Right. Why? Because it works. I've never understood why, centers are supposed to be so many miles apart. Like we used to do that years ago. I don't know if we still do, but I think that the idea of doing collaboration, I think, is really, really, really great. My only question is, having served as a Unity minister for a few years and being ordained in Unity as well as CSL, we have teaching materials. They don't. Or if they do, they're well hidden, or only a select few get to teach them. Yes. And so as a result of that, if we're handing over our curriculum, then what would we be getting in return for that? So I think I would have some questions. They only had 10 minutes. They didn't have a lot of time to go into it. I love the idea of collaborating. I think it's time. I would love to see all the head offices of New Thought be housed right there on the Unity grounds there. The facility's gorgeous, and they rent it out to other people. Why not just have all of us together? But that's probably a topic for another day. But I was excited about the original idea, but I do have still some questions about where it's going and how it's going to be rolled out and all that kind of stuff.
Yes. I think everyone still has a lot of questions, and I do believe even the three leaders that we saw on stage have questions and don't fully have a blueprint or an outline or a game plan or a strategic plan or any of those things. So it's going to take that concerted effort. And it'll be over time, because you've mentioned it here today already. UFBL need be at the table, in my opinion.
Yes, they do.
And INTA need be at the table. And Agape, and
Divine Science.
If AGNT, Divine Science, and if AGNT is to continue, I'd like to see this table expanded to all the various New Thought organizations that are working towards similar means, but sometimes it does appear we work at cross purposes.
It does appear that way sometimes. And I think that for me...
I think...
Go ahead, Elzia.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say it sets the stage for something that is a think tank. What better way to have all the various approaches to teaching this oneness than to have all the people that we find ourselves in congruent with, not incongruent, but congruent with, to sit down and start a think tank of what do you have? What do you have? How do you teach it? Is it effective? Can we combine? Can we, how do we take this from a oneness perspective from a think tank and then move outward into the various organizations as as we as doctors and knowing that no one thing has precedent over another.
No.
It's a part of the oneness, and then we can teach from that way, and then people will find their place.
They will find their place. I mean, each of us is called to the thing that resonates most with us. And having been part of all three of these organizations, for me, it's CSL. There's no question in my mind. This is my home. This is my landing place. This was the place I found when I was starting my healing journey, and it's answered my questions and brought me to an incredible place. So I really, yeah, I like what we do. But yeah, each person will find their own place, and it's just like water, it'll find its own level.
Mm-hmm.
You bring me back around to a question that that I wanted to ask earlier, and I want to explore it because I sometimes wonder if in CSLs and other New Thought organizations, but I do see this in CSL, we have this great thing called spiritual mind treatment, but we try to make it palatable by calling it prayer.
Some people do.
Some do.
Not to.
And we kind of go, and honestly, I think, and I know I have in my experience of ministry, have gone back and forth. And to an internal audience within CSL, it feels much easier to say treatment. And I've wondered if science of mind has done a disservice by not being maybe a little more robust in how we teach and call people to treatment, and the consciousness behind the word treatment versus the consciousness behind the prayer.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm in Canada, and people in Canada are not overly religious. In fact, a lot of people don't like religion at all. And so when we talk about things like prayer or God, using those words can actually push some people away. And the people who like those words are probably already in a church. When I first started doing treatment a million years ago, trying to figure out how to address it to people in the public who know nothing about us, I would use a phrase like this. This thing that I do. My daughter made that for me because I'll say to her friends or whatever, they'll be having a challenge, and I'll go, well, there's this thing that I do. Would you like me to do it with you? And they'll go, well, what is it? Well, it's treatment, and it can help you to, feel better about things or shift things depending on what it is you're looking for. And it's amazing how quickly people go, yeah, do that with me. There's no hesitation or reservation. If I were to say to those same people, well, let me pray with you, they'd look at me like I just sprouted some kind of weird horns or something. Like there would be pushback, big time pushback. And I really, I listen to people calling it prayer, and I go, well, that's okay for you. It's just not okay for me. I don't. And the other thing that I've done that's different, that I've done right from my first class in my first church or center, is I teach treatment at the beginning of every single class I teach. I don't care if it's in the curriculum. It's in my curriculum. You will learn how to treat if you're taking, any course. Doesn't matter what the course is. I'm going to teach you treatment right off the bat, and I'm going to keep referring to it throughout, as well as covering the other material, because I think it is the one thing that truly sets us apart from other teachings, and it's so powerful. To keep it from them, I think, would be criminal. So I want to share it as quickly as possible with everybody who is, wanting to hear about it.
Beautiful. Rev Z, thoughts on this?
think tank, right? Because you have a, a, a number of people, if you said treatment, they look at you like, right? And so, I liken it to the biblical story of Moses striking the rock and the water coming forth, and the 12 tribes of knew exactly where to drink their water, if you will. And for some people, the languaging, like if you say God, they don't want to hear it. If you say spirit, they may want to hear it. If you say the thing itself, they may be curious. And
Mhm.
so when we the thing that was key for me making a transition from the other teachings that I've been a part of
Yeah.
was the idea of experiential. Is that whatever we do, whatever we call it, however you refer to it, it has to be an experience for you to embody it, because that's what we talk about, embodying these things and becoming these
Absolutely.
things. And for that to happen, it has to be experienced. And so whatever we can do to have people step into that kind of resonance and vibration is what I would advocate for everybody. So if you want to call it prayer, fine. If you want to call it a rain dance, fine. If you want to call it treatment, fine. Because it's going to be very difficult to break someone's culture, right? And that's what we teach.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
This is not a religion. This is an umbrella. And so we're not trying to move you from one point to another in terms of that. We're trying to give you this umbrella that'll connect it all.
I love that. I love that. My first CSL Toronto, which started in 2000, uh, when we started that, what was fascinating, after about 2 years, I'll bet we had just about every single faith you could imagine and every age group attending our center. And that was fascinating. I had people who were Jewish, who were Muslim, who were Reformed Catholics, they would call themselves. I had people who I had a laughing yogi, just all sorts of people who came because we don't go against anything. We offer you something that actually fits with everything. And I've been doing for the last few years, I've been doing um, a multi-faith event for World AIDS Day. And I listen to all these faiths speaking, praying, doing what we're all saying the same thing. We're all talking about oneness. And I'm going, wow, there you go. We're all on the same page. We're just doing it a different way. One God, many paths.
I love that. Because far too often, and I just wrote a Substack about this, far too often we're seeing the type of language that in some ways criticizes the idea of oneness because of um, well, the Nazi example or the example of hatred or and what I'm coming to is we are being called to a greater understanding of our oneness, and that can be the delineating line, if you will. If you're talking about oneness, cool, all are welcome here. But if you're talking about hate or division or aggression or you're wrong and I'm right or I'm wrong and you're right, if anywhere we get into that, I don't feel New Thought has to leave a door open. I don't feel we have to give that a microphone. I don't feel that, and I think that saying no, that's not welcome here is a form of inclusion. It is a form. It
Mhm.
isn't. But I see far too many people getting attacked because they want to say, "Hey, this is what we are about, and this is what we're not about."
Yeah, I think that's really important. And I think, when you look around, I know Christianity teaches it anyway, that there's that idea of, whatever. and I just lost my train of thought. Isn't that awesome? I love it when that happens. It just went poof, wherever I was going with that. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like maybe it's a good time for take a quick break, folks, and let Reverend Barbara have a sip of water, and we'll let a couple of our sponsors say hello, and we'll be right back with you after these messages. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you passionate about media, storytelling, and making a difference? Welcome to New Thought Media Network, where your voice matters. We amplify diverse voices and share impactful stories. Join us in our mission. We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to creativity and community, looking for enthusiastic volunteers who want to be part of something bigger, learn, grow, and collaborate in various aspects of media production. Incredible support and camaraderie await you here. Your contributions will help us create powerful content that resonates with audiences and drives social change.
Ready to make a difference? Visit our website www.ntmedia.org to learn more about volunteer opportunities and how you can get involved.
Find our volunteer inquiry under the Engage tab on our website, or visit www.ntmedia.org/volunteer. We look forward to connecting with you soon.
And we're back with more of New Thought today here on the New Thought Media Network. Our special guest, Reverend Barbara Jean from the Universal Joy Center in Toronto, Canada. CSL minister, Unity minister, UFBL minister. You've got all those kinds of a collection of letters that lets me know you're a New Thought minister, and you've been able to explore this movement from various perspectives, and I value that. I know Rev Z values that as well. And what we often try to dig into in our second segment here is usually and well, we're going to do it today too. We would love to know more about your vision for where New Thought is headed. What's calling the movement forward? What's making the movement move? And how do we get from the old New Thought to the new Thought, if you will?
I think that, for me, the biggest thing that has to change at the moment is the ideas of competition, because it doesn't make sense to me that we compete. And we compete within our own organization, which is kind of odd to me as well. When I see that, I find it disturbing, because what that's suggesting is that there's two. And if there is only one, then everything I think, say, and do is happening within that and affecting all of that. So the actions that I do actually impact the whole, and the actions you do impact the whole. So what are we doing collectively? And I think for me, moving forward, what I would really like to see is more collaboration right within CSL itself, between different centers and stuff working together. And I am seeing more of that than I did, say, 10 years ago. But I would also like to see us moving in a direction where we are really collaborating with other New Thought organizations, so that we have this New Thought umbrella that allows all of us to exist, but helps with, for example, marketing. If all of us were working together, we could have our names on one thing and it go out everywhere. Like, we could actually save money on each organization, would be saving dollars by turning around and working more collaboratively. We could share resources, we can share some ideas moving forward. And I've been thinking about this idea of a New Thought bridge. Like, what do we do to bridge the different groups together? And I think that's going to take a bit of work to get there. But I really, really feel strongly that we are in a place right now, we're on a pivotal edge where the youth of our world are feeling a lot of anxiety and fear, especially here in North America. And how do we begin to alleviate some of that anxiety? And I think there's a lot that we offer here. The philosophy of science mind is really solid. And I think, when I send out daily readings, and when I send out those daily readings, I've got people from UFBL and I've got people from Unity and from CSL who have contacted me and went, I love getting that daily reading. And it's from the science mind, right? And that reading is touching lives. And I've had people send me donations who don't attend, have nothing to do with CSL, who are part of UFBL, send me a check going, I'm really grateful for those readings. So I think we're not as different as we'd like to think we are. And I think if we want, like what I hear in all of these organizations and other places too, is this idea of peace on earth. Well, peace on earth can only happen if I choose to be peaceful. And then it's peaceful for me. If you choose it, and if enough people choose it, all of a sudden we have a quantum shift and we could maybe experience some peace for who knows how long. I'm not going to say, but the idea of peace cannot happen as long as it's them and us. There has to be a coming together, and not only of new thought. I think we need to be really involved in interfaith. I think we really need to be working together. Yeah, we have our own set of beliefs and ideas, and that's beautiful. But that doesn't mean we can't collaborate to create a more peaceful, kind, and loving world. And for me, even the vision of new thought for me doesn't really work for me. A world that works for everyone because it already is according to consciousness. So if I have a really, stick in the mud kind of consciousness, well, my life will reflect that. And if I'm really joyful and happy, my life will probably reflect that. But so to say that phrase, I'm going, yeah, but I always add to it, for the highest and best good of all. And that to me is a vision that I would work toward, is trying to work in a way as to collaborate with everyone so that we begin to see where to go next. And I was speaking to somebody earlier today who's been working with CSL Kenya, and just the idea of how do we work within a society that is so different from our own. And I think at that point, we have to go to the people, the Kenyan people, and say, okay, so what is it that you need so we can begin to work this teaching together in a way they can hear it and receive it, and the language and everything will work for them. So I think we've got a lot of work to do. There's no question. But this isn't something that's going to happen, in a minute. But I really think that if we have an intention of creating a world that really truly works for the highest and best good of all, I think if that's our mandate, then I think we have a platform that is hard to argue with. Like we're moving forward in ways to be more inclusive. At the Banff conference, I, was a little dismayed that people were left out of certain things. Like our opening day as ministers, the practitioners were not allowed to attend, but nothing happened that day that would be secret that they shouldn't know. So I could never understand that. So when we're talking about inclusion and all those kind of things, I think we have to look within our organization first and foremost, and then begin to look outside our organization as to how we take that out there in a bigger way.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, I'm if they kept playing that one thing over and over again. Yeah, I just keep hearing that one record going over and over again. We need a think tank.
We do need to think.
We need to bring people together to articulate the various aspects of their teaching so we can put the pieces together back into the whole, because following the environment, as you were saying, or the culture of where we are in the U.S., we have segregated, for lack of a better word, the various parts of the whole. In some cases, we teach it as if it is the whole, but
It's true.
we know, and when we can see it, when we can see it that way, and even if it's like those moments of enlightenment, we only see it for brief moments, if you will.
It's true.
It gives us that impetus to fight for. I don't like the word fight for. It gives us the opportunity to rally for, to come together for the wholeness.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
A
lot.
All right, I'm all in on the think tank piece. I think you both probably know that, right? And I've been in my own ruminations around this, because what I believe was shared in the announcement last week in this initiative of an awakened path, in what Elzia and I have been talking about for years now, literally 3, 4 years, 5 years now that we've been doing this show, is trying to discern which way the path winds, which way the current is taking the New Thought movement, which way is with the current rather than trying to push against the current. And the think tank idea comes up often enough and is pervasive enough that, yeah, right, it's got to happen, and I think it needs to happen on a couple of levels, right? Yeah. There needs to be a concerted effort of New Thought leaders that are considering these types of questions, not just what could it be or what does it look like, but what stakeholders are affected by this.
Yes.
Something was shared with me recently that was kind of concerning, and it's something I don't want to make public, but it was kind of concerning where perhaps one of the organizations I'm a part of has overlooked one of the other organizations out there to its own detriment. And when I hear things like that, my mind goes to, okay, how can we heal and repair those rifts before they become full-blown experiences of separation, and how do we really embrace this much bigger idea of oneness? Since 2021 that I know of, there has been sort of a quiet effort to get leaders together more often, and I'm blessed to be a part of a monthly phone call where leaders from almost all of these major organizations do come together. But we come together for 15 minutes of prayer. And that's been going on for a couple of years now. And after a couple of years of 15 minutes for prayer, my feeling is perhaps that's the seed of the think tank already. Perhaps that's the seed that says, hey, we've now demonstrated that we can pray together. How about if we actually have a conversation together?
Absolutely.
and
talk, yeah.
Set policy or not set policy, but begin to imagine and envision what it can be within New Thought. But then also what I hear Z saying is, how do we take it out into the world too?
Yes, because it has to. It has to go both ways.
Yeah.
And I think for me,
you have pick one.
Couple ways, pick one. You're so funny. You always make me laugh. And lose my train of thought.
Well, it's not time for another commercial, so.
Well, when I think about these ideas, I just get really excited, because when you bring people together, nose to nose, having a conversation, all of a sudden, it's not some kind of weird thing out there that I can't see, touch, or feel. This is a human being in front of me. And because it's a human being in front of me, I'm going to be paying more attention to how I treat that person, giving them space, hopefully. I think there's an opportunity for real incredible movement if we, in fact, did exactly what Elzia said, and that's think tank. And the more we can sit down and talk with each other, the better off we're all going to be in the long run. I
Right.
think that's the way we move our world forward, is through conversation.
Because you think about it, how many misconceptions do we have about unity? How many misconceptions that
Tons.
divine science has about CSL, right?
Absolutely.
And if we could sit down, oh well, shucks, I was looking at the thing from the wrong end. I was looking at the back thinking it's the front. Maybe I was turn it around. Okay, that makes more sense. Then we could begin to say, okay, here's
Yeah,
a different approach, not necessarily better, but here's a different approach that may
different.
get us to the desired outcome of of oneness and transformation
Yeah,
to a higher level of understanding of who and what we are and how we integrate life, consciousness, the planet, the universe, wherever it stops, because there's oneness and it's all moving towards something.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it's time that we kind of move together, find a way to move together
Mm-hmm.
rather than
Mm-hmm.
to be kind of, knocking heads. Let's, yeah, because you're right. There's a lot we don't understand. I hear people talking about CSL going, oh, there's a problem here, a problem there, a problem in the other place. Well, there's always problems. And then they'll turn around and go, but unity. And I'm going, whoa, wait a minute. They got them too. UFBL, the problem they got problems too. Like, I don't care what organization you're talking about. There's human beings involved. There are going to be little moments of conflict or confusion or whatever. And I think that's what we have to get past. And the only way we get past it is nose to nose and talking about what we know. And the other thing is to not be afraid to share.
Yeah.
I think we like to hide things because I have something
Yes.
that you don't have. And so I'm going to keep it hidden under the rug. I'm not actually going to tell you about it.
And who has a monopoly on the divine?
Nobody.
And there's this, I want to circle into this a little bit, because there is this thing in New Thought that I've been taught, and I know it's been taught by others, that when you're doing a big thing, don't share. Keep it quiet till you get the lesson, or keep it quiet until it's ready, or keep it quiet. But it's those types of that. And Elzia and I were introduced to a phrase earlier this year in Las Vegas by our dear friend, Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson, and that is old New Thought. Right? That keep it quiet until it's all figured out is old New Thought. Don't tell anybody, because they might not believe, and their disbelief could affect your belief. And if there's enough disbelief, that the power of belief won't over. And it's old New Thought.
That is old New Thought.
And we're ready for a new thought. And I'm going to keep harping this. We at Anton last week, I didn't even know this was happening. Reverend Dr. Martha Creek, her talk was a new thought on new thought. Some new thoughts, and it's time to have new thoughts about how we do new thought, how we communicate within new thought, how we inform people about what's going on in new thought. And I see this program and others on our network as being having an opportunity to be more of that journalistic voice that is helping people across the broad spectrum understand these are where the currents of new thought are flowing, because new thought is an evolving process. It's an evolving philosophy. It's not stuck in an old time frame.
No, not at all. Not at all. That's what I loved about Ernest Holmes. Open at the top.
And again, it just of harping on, if you will, not the best word, but elaborating and extenuating and all the things of this idea of oneness.
Yeah.
Of oneness, because when there's oneness, you don't look at a problem as a problem. You look at it as a portal to the next thing.
The next, yeah.
There has never been anything that was created or problem or issue or something to get over, right? Pick one, doesn't matter, just pick one. You'll find that same pattern in action.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that. I love that.
All right, so here's what we've got, folks. We've got 9 minutes left. I want to say thank you to our sponsors and our organizational sponsors and individual donors before we go. And we got to do final thoughts. And I really think we should set a meeting time for the first think tank invitation, for the first invitation to a think tank exploratory committee. So I'm going to let you two take a minute and 22 seconds to think about that while we say thank you to our sponsors and our donors, and then we're going to come back with more on New Thought Today. Don't go away, folks. If you're with us, stay close. We're close. It's going to happen in about a minute and a half. We'll be right back. Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring. And we're back with more of New Thought Today on the New Thought Media Network. And yes, Barbara Jean sending me a message. Absolutely. I've forgotten to change your name on the thank you of your center on the thank you video. I'm sitting there going, oh, I just put more work on my schedule. So thanks for the reminder.
You're welcome. I keep
right.
so.
So what do we think, folks? Like early January, maybe on a Wednesday night or something?
Yeah. Yeah, the sooner the better.
We'll put it out there and make that call for a New Thought think tank. Not that any of us need another project, but there we go. Maybe that's
Of course.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So, folks, we want to thank you for
But
watching.
the new year just speaks to it.
It does. It really does.
It does. And we want to do our final thoughts of the day. And because Rev Z has had the premier idea of the day, we're going to let him or repeat or call us to that one more good time. But Z, please start us off our final thoughts.
I think, for me, what we have to look to synthesize these teachings into a, not that they get watered down or unapproachable, but synthesized to the point that nothing is outside of the wholeness, or nothing is outside of the oneness, so that we begin to reframe how we look at things that we may have called problems or issues or wins or success. And we get rid of that language, if you will, to look at all things that are happening at any point in time is a portal to another perspective, another vision of this thing called life.
I love that idea of a portal. I love that. You're genius, man. Genius. And you probably want me to go next,
That's
right?
just the divine flowing. It ain't me. It's the divine flowing.
The divine flowing through. For me, I'm excited about the changes that are on the horizon. And, I haven't said too much about this yet, but I've decided to put my name forward for the role of spiritual leader of CSL. And I think my reasoning behind that, well, it happened kind of fast, but it was a pull. It was just a pull. It wasn't a conscious decision at all. It was a pull from deep down inside that went, okay, do this. So that's what I've done at this point. My reasoning for wanting to be a big part of this community and to continue the work that I've been doing for so long is that I think it's time there's a number of things we have to change. Our language is changing. So we have to adapt a new language in order to be truly inclusive. And if we're going to be inclusive, then we have to be inclusive, not pick and choose who we include. But inclusive means everything, everyone. And so I see a little too often where we will miss the boat a little bit because we'll see maybe a homeless person walk in and go, ooh, do I want that person here? Yeah, I do. I do want that person here because they might hear something that assists them in altering their life moving forward. So I think the idea of inclusion is really important to me and how we get to that. And of course, if we can just do enough think tanks and really bring a bunch of people together, oh, I'm excited. I think it's brilliant. Robert, you're up.
Beautiful. Well, I just love that you have just demonstrated what I've been talking about. We are here. New Thought Media Network is here to further the conversation by keeping the New Thought movement informed.
Yeah.
And there you go. You heard it here first. Candidate for Spiritual Leader of Centers for Spiritual Living. We, as a member of the network, and I wish you all the best in this. And we're going to be really excited to see where this takes us. Takes
Awesome.
you, takes the movement, takes the conversation.
Yeah.
Because regardless of the outcome, the conversation has been launched. And that's what I'm hearing is reflected recently back to when I first got into New Thought. And remembering my very first minister prophesized that, these two CSL organizations, and we weren't quite CSLs yet. We were still UCRS and RSI. And at that time, he said, give it 10 years, and I think they're all going to come back together. And wouldn't you know, it was about 10 years. And we're on this cycle of evolution that it feels like there's a lot of people talking about that, a greater demonstration of our oneness, of our unified New Thought movement. And it might take 10 years, but I'm also holding out that it might not have to take 10 years this time around for us as a movement to come to a greater expression of our oneness. So I love having these conversations. I look forward to what you're going to bring to the conversations and how it all evolves and unfolds. So before we go, I have one last little thought. It struck me as we were talking that roses don't compete.
No, they don't.
There's still roses in the neighborhood, and as we go out and walk the dogs, we're still seeing some rose bushes. And roses don't compete. One doesn't look down on the other. If one loses its leaves a little earlier, one doesn't look up to the other because one is in full bloom. Roses don't compete. And I want to see New Thought be more of that, where we're all blossoming in our own ways, and our blossom is glorifying the blossoming of another.
Yes. Well said.
Mhm.
All right, folks, I think that's what we've got on tap for today. So, Reverend Barbara Jean, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me. Always happy to be here.
You can catch Reverend Barbara Jean all over New Thought Media Network, The Joy Show on Fridays at 1 p.m. Also, The Good News Fridays at 5 p.m. We also carry the Universal Joy Center as part of our all-day Sunday programming, so you can catch her talks on Sunday afternoons as well. Stay tuned with us, folks, until throughout the week. And I just learned while we were on the air that next week our guest will be Reverend Dr. David Alexander. So plan to join us for that next Tuesday. But until then, we want to thank you for being with us and wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.